Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over Palantir's relationship with the software product they've created called Warp Core for the Space Systems Command. Now, this was a video on LinkedIn that I got sent by a viewer of the channel, so thank you for the person who sent me this via email. And basically, it's one of Palantir's main engineers that works on Warp Core talking about how the Space Systems Command uses the product that Palantir created. So if you don't know what Warp Core is, it's essentially this data analytics platform that tries to interpret the data coming from the Space Force or the Space Systems Command, and basically the systems of the government that end up using things that are related to space, and interpret them, make more sense of them, make them, more logical. And we're going to go through that video and sort of have it explained right then and there. Now, the cool thing about this project is that the Space Systems Command gave Palantir a $43 million contract back in December of 2021. In fact, that was one of the first deals that broke. I started YouTube in November 2021, and by December, it's just deals left and right coming from Palantir. I'm like, oh, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to analyze. So when you think about the Space Systems Command, the reason why I get so excited for this deal is because there is a reason they are not picking other companies to do this type of project. When you're talking about space, you're talking about a territory that is unknown. You're talking about things that are in the sky. You're talking about asteroids. You're talking about different national security threats. I mean, there's just so many things that can go wrong in space and so many things to discover and find in space that it makes it such an interesting terrain. So Palantir, for them to have the ability to actually analyze the data coming from the Warp Core, to me is very exciting. And number two, a month ago or about 3 weeks ago, Palantir launched satellites with a partner called Satellogic that we covered on the channel. And when they launched those satellites into the sky, they were basically implementing their Meta Constellation product, which is their ability to connect IoT devices onto their software platform. So an IoT device means the Internet of Things, which means it doesn't have to go to the cloud to send the data back to the Earth. So these satellites are in space. They're taking real-time data. For example, they're doing geospatial data, which means they're covering different parts of the world, and they're interpreting those images and sending them right back to Earth. And that's happening through Palantir's Foundry. So the integration of their Meta Constellation product to give real-time data to decision makers on Earth based on what's going on in space shows their relationship with the space industry and the space field in and of itself. And additionally, they've invested in Black Sky. Black Sky is another SPAC that does geospatial space intelligence. Now, their stock is in the gutter, like a lot of SPACs are in the gutter right now in terms of their stock prices, but it's a very, very exciting company. And in fact, it was actually helping in the Russia-Ukraine crisis because it was taking geospatial imagery and sending that data back to Earth and back to governments. So we know that Palantir has a pretty deep relationship going into space and sort of trying to make sense of what is hard to make sense of. So let's get into this video right here. Let's hear them talk about it themselves.
I'm Captain Kim Panik-Sagan, United States Space Force, and I am the PM for Warp Core. So Warp Core is our data as a service. It started about 2 years ago with just the question of how do we leverage data and how do we do it at scale? So Warp Core is leveraging Palantir Foundry, and it's a commercial product that allows you to do data ingest, transformation, and exposure for operations.
My name's Katie Ward. I'm an engineer at Palantir. I was one of the program managers for Warp Core. It's an enterprise data management platform that's really meant to pull together all the information that you need for true space domain awareness.
Warp Core we originally got for space data problems. Then we realized data is a problem for everyone. We expanded out. Project Brown Heron started with the Department of the Air Force during the pandemic. During that time, we had to answer the question, how is the pandemic affecting our readiness to continue supporting the mission? So that included pulling from a number of personnel and readiness and medical data sources. Then we expanded out to NORAD Northcom for the Global Information Dominance Experiment to show how do we answer multi-domain actions. For Operation Allies Refuge, the first problem was we need to evacuate. How do we get people out of Afghanistan? What aircraft do I have available? What maintainers do I have to maintain that aircraft? How quickly are they spinning through? What is their fuel status? How much can they carry? That is all data.
That's a really good point. So we'll get back into the video in a second. But I mean, this is what I think people, when they're confused about what Palantir does, everything is the data question, right? So when you're trying to get refugees out of Afghanistan, you need to know millions and millions of details of different things, from supply chains to logistics to the plane to all the things she mentioned about the plane, to actually get it done, right? Like it's one thing of saying, hey, we're going to go do this. It's another thing of actually getting it done, and getting it done is a data problem. So if they're integrating Palantir Foundry into Warp Core, which is, their software as a service in the context of data, and they're implementing it in various elements of how the government can implement a mission of sorts, and this is a very critical mission, getting refugees out of Afghanistan, then you need data, and you need data at scale. And like it makes sense that they're ultimately using Palantir to be able to implement this. And we'll talk about what this means for the Palantir business in a little bit.
And so what Warp Core was able to do is provide all of that aircraft, personnel, and equipment data to advise the most efficient way to use our resources and evacuate out of Afghanistan. What we had is a platform that is able to pull in any type of data to meet any type of mission. And that's what JADC2 is. It's trying to answer, how do we cross all the data from different domains to support our operations, whether that's ground, space, air, or sea.
I think the thing that's like uniquely powerful about Warp Core in this JADC2 space is that you're getting the technology to the warfighter, and you're allowing them to make the decisions that they need to make without kind of all of this overhead of like, okay, you need 3 data scientists, you need 1 orbital physicist, and you need 15 Excel sheets to get the answer to your problem before you can even start to make operational decisions. Because ultimately, we aren't the ones finding the use cases, the operators are, and the domain for them is changing constantly. So as much of like technology can be used to help them do their jobs, I think that's the thing that I find the most satisfying about my work.
That's one of the cool things too with our partners, how much they have enveloped themselves into the mission, literally sitting on the floor where they say, I get the operations, I get the pain points, I'm here to actually answer pain points and not just check boxes. That's been amazing, to just not get data for data's sake, but to always be focused on the mission.
And this is going back to the forward deployed engineers, right? Everyone, I mean, there was a guy on Twitter the other day who, he was just like, it's just a consulting firm. They just have to, it's like, it's a consulting firm in the respect that they have deployed engineers, consultants, you could call them, I guess, that are doing the heavy lifting for clients to get them to really adapt and understand the product. But whenever someone says it's a consulting firm, I'm like, their margins are not from consulting. Like their margins are gross 80% because they sell software. Now, do they implement some consulting in order to help you understand the product? Yes, because it's not an out-of-the-box product. But you don't want to invest in an out-of-the-box product. You want to invest in something that's going to change the world. And to change the world, you have to really have a good implementation and a good meaningful dialogue with the people that you're working with so that they understand exactly what they're getting. So, I mean, it makes sense that they're that heavily integrated with the actual clients. And, I think that's a good thing long term.
Because of the technology, we were able to iterate really quickly. And so every single day we were showing, the folks on the floor at, crew shift change, hey, this is the new thing. Hey, this was your feedback. Is this what you're imagining? Get that feedback immediately. And we were sitting on the floor with them iterating in real time. So that was a really incredible experience to be on the floor with the users. And the part that really gets exciting is because you're doing it all on like a living enterprise platform, as they're making decisions, you're actually capturing that as information. So not only do you have the, accelerator that is a tool that multiple folks can use, but then you start to again, build back into that data asset of, okay, here are the decisions we're making, and here's how we can capture that and learn from that.
So what I'm excited about is Warp Core is less than 2 years old, and with that time, we've been able to acquire, develop, deliver, and expand, not within just the Space Force, but within the Department of Air Force and Northcom. Give us another year, who knows where we're going to be.
There it is. That's Warp Core. Not bad, not bad. This is the software product that Palantir has developed for the Space Systems Command. So if we go right here real quick, let me just go to Space Systems Command. Yeah, let's go to their website just so everyone can see what it looks like. Here it is. That's the other one. It's such an interesting, again, idea and project, because I'm like, the fact that they're actually working with the military in such a unique way to be able to implement. I mean, space, again, like just looking at space, the picture of it is, it's just, we don't know what's there. It's why everyone's inspired by Elon Musk and his attempt to colonize Mars. Because like if someone, you look up at the sky, you're like, what are we? We're just here with just these humans, and there's all this stuff that's out there. So it's really, really interesting stuff. I think that in the context of business, so these will be kind of my last points. the business sense for this is exponential. If Palantir is able to become a namestay in the space industry and all of the verticals that exist in space, whether it comes to supplying internet services or whether, doing the stuff that Starlink's doing, or like the spaceship rockets, or just having software attached to different satellites and rockets, or geospatial intelligence, commercializing space, which is going to happen over the next 20-30 years. Like, there's going to be people going in and out of space like it's almost airplanes. Like it is going to play a major factor in the new emerging version of the economy that we have a couple decades from now. And the companies that I believe are going to be able to play a role within that emerging economy as an integral element. Like, you can't go to space without Palantir, that type of element. You can't, have an electric car without Elon Musk until there was all this competition, right? Like, until you become that namestay, you're not going to have that exponential growth. But if you set up the foundation for that, which is what I've been talking about in the past couple of videos, just set up the foundation to do these things 5-6 years from now, the market will reward that, because the ability for you to actually be that player in that space, I think, is going to be pretty big. So overall, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about Palantir and the Warp Core product. It is a data product that works with the Space Systems Command that tries to understand and interpret all the data that is required to do actions in space and take the data from space to be able to work on Earth. And to me, $43 million, it's a good deal, but that deal sets them up for a $430 million deal one day, as they become the crucial element that permeates the entire organization of the Space Systems Command. There's likely not going to be another product they go to if Palantir is getting it done, and they're getting it done at an accelerated level. And you have the consultants that are actually telling you everything to do, and it's not just, you're in the dark here. So I think it makes sense, and I think it's going to be a pretty good product over time. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.